your video and audio, then it's only a matter of putting the stream keys in, and then you can go live.
Ooh.
That's how it works. Wow, that's so weird. Anyhow, I'll let you go.
Hey, can you send this to the people? Let's see. You won't. There we go. Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Did it just go?
I think so. All right. Anybody can hear me. Bye. Hey. Perfect. Holy cow, it works. I should stop touching the table. Super shaky. Close, Sandra. So I don't know. I created it, set it to have the time that it was supposed to have, and I was never given a go live button. It just didn't exist. Thanks, Yeoman. Is it still freezing? Close some things. Go. Let me try something. Okay. Let's see how that does. Is that any better? We switched, I switched over to a different internet. Maybe it's so many people talking. Freezing a little. Phooey. Hey, Mom. How are you? Let's see. Let's get rid of that. That's a lot better. Okay, good. Okay, good. I wasn't sure which was going to be better. My mobile hotspot or the satellite internet. So we're going to try the satellite internet and see what happens. So, hey, Liberty. What a day, guys. What a day. Before I get to my life story, where I was born at a very early age, and for the first few years I was very close to my mother, the chickens today, our laying birds, the golden comets, have not been laying so well, and we didn't know why. So we thought maybe it was that they've been moved recently. You know, we just got here a month ago, so we thought maybe they were just, you know, in shock. And they went from the coop that we had with the run, which we had an elevated coop. And it was actually a smaller run than the chicken tractor. And yes, Mom, I'm still close to you. Not as close as I was in the first couple of years of my life. And so our eggs were getting less and less. We were getting almost an egg per bird per day. And we had stacks of eggs places. And then it just kept dwindling until we were getting maybe one egg a day. And we thought maybe we didn't move the tractor enough. So we started moving the tractor around more. We put more food in there. We tried a different food. I even enclosed the coop area more, and still no eggs, or like a egg. And so the other day, 2 days ago, I went out there and was giving them water, saw there was an egg in there. and thought, okay, well, I'll get yes, the eggs were close to their mom. I'll get the egg in a minute. And I got busy doing something, I forget what, probably in the woods playing with Lucy. And I went back and the egg was gone, like gone, nothing. And they're in the middle of a field in the tractor. So I haven't seen any snakes. I haven't seen any raccoons, middle of the day. And I realized that they're eating their own eggs. So yes, they ate them. Yesterday we went out and found like evidence of the yolk. And of course, I don't know which ones are doing it. And my orps aren't big enough yet. And of course, we have the second batch of babies between the Delawares and the orps, and they're not big enough. And so like our egg supply just disappeared. So today actually yesterday, when we realized they were eating them, we knew something had to change. So we looked around to see if we could find some chicks or chickens that were of laying age that weren't too expensive. And we ended up finding a lady that had rescued, I think she had 15 chickens left. They'd all been picked on from whatever situation they were in before. So she was like, they were healthy. They were just missing feathers. And she was selling them for $5 a piece originally. When I contacted her, they were $3 a piece, and they're laying. She had 15. So we went down there today and bought 15 laying hens. Most of them, I think, are golden comets. They had that kind of blend. So it is possible that it was a predator. It's just weird that it was the middle of the day and I was out there working kind of thing. So it was not, I don't know. I just didn't think so. But it's possible. So anyways, I've moved them. Golf balls in the nesting box. They pack those in themselves. Well, I'll give it a shot. I have heard people use golf balls to help them know where to nest. But what I did, and I didn't film it, I have a video for you guys about lighterwood coming up hopefully tomorrow. But we took the golden comets that were the egg monsters, and we moved them to a more like a much more mobile but larger coop, and are sort of going to free range them into the woods. I've been clearing a path. We want pigs. I'm sure I've talked to you guys about that. And forest pigs on the hot wire kind of thing. So I've been clearing a path because we have a huge section of woods. So I'm kind of trying to corner off a section that I can run a hot wire around and then let the pigs go crazy in there. So what I've done is, oh, hey, Joe, welcome. I've moved the Rhode Island Red egg eaters out there. They're in the coop from about 3 o'clock this afternoon on, and they I've left them in there overnight. I'm going to let them out tomorrow. We have what we call our house chickens. Somebody gave us 5 birds, and 3 of them were roosters. They're really small, like bantams. They're super cute, but they're no good for eating, and they're no good for eggs. So we just kind of let them go near the house, and they've been keeping the bugs down like crazy. And they haven't been fighting with each other. The roosters all get along. So we moved the reds out there, and then I put the golden comets, and we put the new girls into the chicken tractor that the other ones were in. And we already found an egg in there, and they've only been in there since about 4 o'clock. So we're excited. Oh, hey, sis. That they're laying. So we had to teach them how to eat out of the feeder and some things like that. But so far they're doing really well. And we'll see how the golden comets do in the woods. But there's so many bugs and things like that. I think they're going to be very happy. So I briefly wanted to talk to you guys tonight about how somebody, and actually my brother too, come to think of it, was also raised, obviously, in Fort Lauderdale. Huge family. And how we ended up being raised 4 miles from the ocean and then ended up out in the middle of nowhere trying to grow our own stuff. His path was slightly more steady on the trajectory. He always liked gardening and that kind of thing. I never really liked gardening. I would plant radishes because they were done in like 3 days. So that was me. Garden, boom, radish, done. And zinnias. I planted a whole lot of zinnias. And he was over there like experimenting and making like GMOs and stuff. I'm just kidding. He didn't make GMOs. But he always liked that, and I didn't. I always liked being outside, and I always wanted to know how people knew how to do things. So whenever handyman would come over to the house, I'd follow them around and try and learn what they were doing. So we were raised in very traditional, like Florida. I don't know how big our house property was, but it was a neighborhood, totally a neighborhood. Cinder block houses, they all look the same. I did not know that there were other types of houses growing up, like things like Cape Cod and ranchers and craftsman style. All we knew was cinder block about yay tall, and then a real not pitched roof so the hurricanes didn't tear them off, and that was it. So we grew up, we were all homeschooled back in the 80s, which was super weird compared to what everybody else was doing, because our parents were visionaries and knew that the school system was going to heck in a handbasket. So they pulled my brother out real early, and I never had the opportunity to get anywhere even near corrupted by the school system. And we had a great childhood. Everything was good. When I was older, I used to enjoy camping and stuff like that with Christian service brigades, which is kind of like Boy Scouts, but more Christian, I guess. And I loved being out in the woods, out camping, all that stuff. We would vacation in a little town called Spruce Pine, and my grandparents had a summer home up there. And it was very isolated up in the mountains, and we thought it was huge. But of course, when looking back on it now, the property was probably like, what, a third of an acre or something? I don't know. But there was a lake, and we would launch, fireworks and just have a great time being outside. I always like being outside. And we my brother, when we were teens, this is the story. I'm not sure Mom knows or not, but when we were teens, my brother bought a long distance potato setter downer. It came with a random stick and some hairspray, and it had a barbecue lighter on the back to help you set potatoes down very far away. And of course, our backyard, I don't know, was like 60 by 40 or something. It's not a large yard. And of course, every side is houses. And my brother brought home this potato setter downer long before we went on vacation to the cabin where we normally did things that you weren't allowed to do in the city. And we wanted to test it. We wanted to test it. And of course, a potato would be ridiculous because it would go way too far to set her down. So we thought, if memory serves, we would try an avocado, right? Kind of soft, mushy. We'd shot rags. I'm sorry. We set rags down with it, and the rags would make a really loud noise and fall out like 10 feet. But we wanted to see something go a little further. So we thought, this avocado has got to be totally safe, no problem. And we aimed it at the fence, which had a nasty bush, really thick bush. Thought it was a thick bush. And then there was our neighbor's aluminum shed. So we put the avocado into the setter downer, little aqua net, for those of you hairband people, great old aqua net. Shake, shake, click, click. And the seed went through the fence, through the hedge, and made an incredibly loud noise as it went through their aluminum shed. It looked like something out of a World War II movie. There was like a perfect hole just right through it. And of course, we ran inside with a large smoking piece of PVC. And one of the beautiful things about being in a neighborhood is everybody doesn't know where anything comes from, right? It could be one of like 14 houses. So yeah, Karen, it set that avocado seed. It probably planted it about 4 houses down. So they might have an avocado tree there. And if they do, they owe us some avocados, because it was exhilarating. So, but yeah, we took that thing to the cabin with us in Spruce Pine, and we would just have a great time setting potatoes down across the lake. But I went to work for some family. I did a year of Bible college, and then I did a year of community college, and neither one of them, I didn't see any future in either one, so to say. Hey, Tanya. So I went to work for some family doing construction for a few years, and that's where I met my wife. We got married very early, which I highly recommend. Not early and often, just early, in my opinion. The early and often is for voting. And we moved to the middle of, I moved to the middle of Florida to work for my family. And so we were in Ocala for a couple of years. We got married there. And my family there had large land, and it was the most rural place I'd ever lived. And I thought it was pretty cool. But we didn't really do anything, so to speak, with animals or growing stuff. It was just, we were 18 and 21 when we got married. And then we ended up moving to Georgia. This family member sold a bunch of their businesses and things like that, and took a huge chunk of money, and we went up to Georgia. And up in Georgia, now we got married in 2004, we moved to Georgia in 2006, and I went and sold cars for a while, so I apologize to any of you that don't like car salesmen. I was an honest car salesman, which is a funny thing to find. But anyways, they wanted to start. We started several businesses up there. The primary business being a paintball business, but Georgia wouldn't reciprocate the construction licenses, so we had a hard time doing construction. So we built this whole paintball business up there. We had rental guns. We had built a western town at a rough cut board that was milled on the property. We made a World War II style field. We had a professional X-ball field for speedball. We actually hosted a collegiate paintball tournament there. And we had a great time doing it. But the economy fell apart, obviously. And we had bought a house at that time that we probably shouldn't have bought, but it was 30 miles outside of town. It was only 1,000 square feet. It was like $72,000. It had 2.5 or just under 2.5 acres. And we did all kinds of stuff to it. We painted it. We redid the ceiling. We redid the bathroom. We cleared, we underbrushed, we didn't clear, and made it like a pine forest. And there we started doing gardens. We started doing chickens. We did rabbits for a little while. We had a couple goats, and we loved it. But the economy fell apart. And so the businesses all collapsed. Everything just fell apart. And all the stuff that I was qualified to do, nobody wanted. I had worked in restaurants. Restaurants were shutting. It was really a rough time. And at that time, my wife became pregnant with our first kid. And so our house was worth half what we owed. We couldn't find work. Things were just lousy. So we ended up having to short sell the house. Lost a lot of money on it. The businesses all collapsed. My family member actually had to move back to Florida, and so we were kind of stuck in this apartment. In town, we short sold the house, moved into town, and we were not making enough money to live. My wife was working; she finished her degree, so she was working as a teacher, and I decided to go back and finish some type of degree because I had to get something. We were starving, and so I went to nursing school, got through all the prereqs and everything else, and was 3 months away from starting nursing school when a firefighter backed into my car. And we had a conversation, and I discovered that you could get paid to be a fireman. I had no idea. So I found out how to do that. I went through Alabama Fire Academy. And while I was in Alabama Fire Academy, I got my EMTP, and we applied everywhere that was hiring, and Newport News, Virginia said yes first. And so 10 years ago, we moved here. When we moved here, we ended up, for the first time in 4.5 years, we made enough money to live. But it was by $140. It was not a lot of money extra. It was barely, if anything, if a tire popped, that was it. And we were tens of thousands of dollars in debt for various things. When we did the paintball businesses and things were collapsing, we thought if we could hold on long enough, it would correct. And it just never did, or not quick enough. So we ended up, using credit cards and stuff, trying to live to get to the point that the businesses made money. And it just didn't. So we moved up here and we slowly started paying things off. We leased a house. And then if you've watched the money stream video that I did about the rental property and things like that, you'll kind of know the rest of the story. But it's taken us 10 years to get back out into the woods, kind of like we had in Georgia. We're further away up here from town and things than we were in Georgia. In Georgia, it was about a 30 to 35-minute drive. Well, I guess we're 30 minutes from a town, but I'm like 80 minutes from my job. So I'm still working in the fire department full time, and we're trying to homestead. And I was thinking of homesteading, and I don't know if you guys know what the actual definition of homesteading is, and there's probably multiple ones, but we're not like, setting rocks out and, living in a hut. There's a show on Discovery Channel called Homestead Rescue, where the Rainies run around and like rescue these people's homesteads. And if you look at their homesteads, most of them are like, we built this property out of sticks and mud, and we have no water and no food, and we don't know how to make anything, and we're 90 miles from town, and we don't have any way to live. Or they're like, we're in the frozen tundra and there's no access to whatever. It's like super primitive type, survivalist kind of thing. And Sandra, that's true in some respects. We call it the starving time. We're near Jamestown, and in Jamestown they have the starving time. So that's what we call that period of our life. But our homestead here is not like that. And so I Googled what is a homestead. And it was all these property laws, right? Like the building that people occupy and the adjacent land and stuff like that. And I don't know. What we're doing is not like the primitive homesteading at all, kind of, yet. What we're aiming to do is first try and make enough food for our family to live. Our goal is by this time next year to have enough food created, stored, grown, harvested, whatever, to have all of our food for a year stored somewhere that doesn't require electric or refrigeration or any of those things. And oh, cool. Thanks, Liberty. Yeah, we've read a lot of Dave Ramsey. The problem with David Ramsey, in my opinion, and it's not meant to be negative. It's just I went through all those courses when I was like 11 and 12. Our parents were very good about putting us into money investment type things. How do you do those things and whatnot? But you actually have to make money to have $100 a week to invest in the stock market or your Roth IRA or whatever. We were literally like not making enough money to live because everything went. So that makes it tricky. But all that to say, what we wanted to do here, first of all, was get our kids out of the city as much as we could, be as independent as possible, as quickly as possible. But we also want to have the ability to create food without any type of gas, diesel, electric, whatever. I've seen like solar panel pumps for like your well, and that's cool. That's great. But what happens when the solar panel burns out? So we talked a bit in one of the videos about how, I think like there's a tsunami coming. So you see like the wave always goes back before it comes in. It feels like that's what's happening. So I don't know how long we have. I also don't know how big the tsunami is going to be, right? So the tsunami might be, 6 months of turmoil and everything's better. It could be, years of oppression. It could be, I don't know what. I mean, I like to think of the steel curtain when I think of how long I'm prepping for. World War II happened. It was terrible. And I'm sure a lot of the people, the poor, regular, ordinary citizens that got caught, between these armies cascading across their country land, thought, okay, the wars come, wars go. 20 years ago, there was a war. It was all better. We had, peace, and here's another war. And what ended up happening was the Iron Curtain came down, and all of a sudden you had millions of people under complete and total tyranny for, 40 something plus years. Even still today to some degree. So I don't know if it's like that or if it's just going to be, one big event and it's over. Is it going to be like a war? Is the whole nation going to fall apart and then this side's okay and that side's not? I don't have any idea. So I want to have things on the property. One of the things we're ordering here in the next couple of weeks, I hope, is a meadow creature. It's something my brother's talked about a lot. It's a broad fork. You know, I think the big one's 22 inches or something. It's made of solid iron and everything else, and you can't go wrong with it. So while Lucy, my wonderful tractor, does a great job, what happens if I can't get gas? How do I make food? So I want like a hand pump on my well that I can do. I'm also looking at putting in a secondary well up front where we're going to have the animals. That is all manual. Everything is manual. I don't know if the 401k is going to be there or not. I hope so. I hope everything is great. And I hope it never happens. And I hope I spend thousands and thousands of dollars on nothing. That's honestly my hope. I hope it doesn't happen, because if it does happen, instead of being like, oh, great, I'm so totally prepared, there are going to be millions of people who are not. So I don't know how you guys feel about firearms, but my kids asked me, why I carried a gun. And I told them it was to protect them and the family. And they said, well, what if somebody wants your wallet? I said, you can keep my wallet. I don't care. I'll get another wallet. You want my car, take my car. That's fine. But you're not going to mess with my family. And the only thing that I would hate for in my life worse than to like shoot somebody who's coming after my family is to need to shoot somebody who's coming after my family and not have the gun. Right. So that's kind of the way I feel about what we're doing. Now, the flip side of this is, I don't know where any of you guys are necessarily. I know where some of you are. But I don't know where you live, suburban, urban, middle of nowhere, rural, whatever. But I've spent an awful lot of money to get out to this piece of property to be able to grow food and do these kind of things. It would probably be a whole lot cheaper to go to like one of those 25-year food storage places and spend like $3,000 on it or $4,000 on it and like a water straw that purifies stuff and just stuff it in a closet. Whole lot cheaper. So, moving out to this size of property and, trying to do all this and make all this food and things like that, there are much cheaper and much faster ways to do that, and potentially more secure ways to do that. So I wouldn't panic by any stretch of the imagination, but it's possible. So that's kind of our goal with this homestead, is to kind of reverse engineer everything. Right now we have everything really good, right? I mean, I'm talking to you on my computer. There's internet, there's lights. I have 2 flannels on just in case, because I know I got chastised by somebody. So I put 2 flannels on just to make sure I have an abundance of flannel. So we're very comfortable right now. But I kind of want to reverse everything back to the uncomfortable, to have all those things, so that if all of a sudden I have no job or whatever, I can make food. It's hard to have an emergency if you've planned for almost everything, right? There's a great book. Hey, hon, do you have that preparedness book thing with the family, that how much you need to eat and all that other stuff? Do you remember where that went? It was the shorter one. We bought doing the most of the basics, or the best of the basics, or something like that. Hold on, I got a book you guys should see if I can find it. Well, I'm not finding it. My lovely wife is finding it, because I look for things typically like a guy. Like if I hold out my hands and say, "Where's that book?" and it doesn't land there, I don't know where it is. Watch this. Where's that book? Ah, it's filling my hands. All right. I love this book. I don't know if it's backwards on your screen, but this is a great, great book. Oh, I didn't say I would go after anybody. I'm not going after anybody. Just preventing things. Don't shoot people. It's bad. Okay. But this is called making the best with the basics. It's a family preparedness guide. It's fairly old, or the original one. This is a reprint. it is a great book. It tells you how to do everything, and it tells you what types of things to can, what types of things to, how to prepare them, how to store them, how to keep it for a long time, what types of things, all the way down to how many calories like each person needs depending on their age, and all these things. So that's kind of been our guide here lately, for what we're aiming for. But they make a really good point in the beginning of the book. And all kinds of birds. Huh. Interesting. I'm not a Mormon. I'm Reformed. I don't think that's anything like Mormon. But it really helped us know that actually how much you need to store. But in the beginning of the book, they were talking about how one of their family members lost their job and they ended up eating out of their stores. And they also help you really good with squinting. Squinting will help with your aim. Rotating your stock. It wasn't just, here's how you store all this food. It's great, but plans on rotating it. And there are, worksheets in there and stuff like that. So we're working on using that book in kind of, a hybrid model of what we have going on. Somebody earlier asked if we had a water source, and we don't have an actual like spring or, a well or something, or I'm sorry, a well. We have a well. We don't have a brook or like a natural spring on the property. Behind us, about 15 acres back, is a fairly large creek that turns into a estuary into, I think, the Rappahannock River. So, I mean, I could walk, it's my neighbor's property technically, but there's nothing back there that would prevent us from bothering anybody. It's called Making the Best of the Basics, a Family Preparedness Handbook. But if that doesn't work for you, the War on Weeds, definitely. Just to give you an idea, it even gives you like a shelf life on things. So batteries, I can't tell if you can see that. It looks so terrible on my screen. Looks like I need glasses. It shelf life and a priority list. That was the really cool thing about it. It gave you a priority list. So like, what is the most important thing you need? Food, water, shelter, food, whatever. And then how to store them and which ones to get, what is the most calorically dense, all that kind of stuff. So super cool. But there is a stream behind us that I could get to if I had to. But what I want to do is I want to put in a artesian type well up front if possible, so it's not quite as hard to get water out of it. But we'll see. I don't know. That's next month. I am a paramedic also, yeah. So it's not all the medical stuff was lost. But the thought of actually working in a hospital now is like abhorrent to me. I don't know that I could do it. I suppose if I had to, I could, but I wouldn't. That's just, I like, one of the things I like about the fire department, and when I say fire department, it includes the medic. We're all one department. We're all dual trained, not necessarily up to the paramedic level, but we have, one day you ride the ambulance, next day you ride a fire truck. It's not any different. Is the unknown. So you never know what your day is going to have. So you go to work, and we all start the day kind of the same way, but you could go on anything from a toe pain to, a cardiac arrest to a fire to, whatever. We had a lady call us because her carbon monoxide detector was flashing. What it was flashing was the green light to let you know that it's fine. But she panicked and called us because she'd never noticed it before. In some ways, I love those calls because there's no emergency, so nobody's house is burning down or anything like that. But you get to like reassure somebody, and you can be nice to somebody. And the poor lady was terribly embarrassed that she called not knowing. And but it's you just don't know what the day is going to have, right? Whereas, speaking of tea, I'm going to tell you guys, my buddy, the modern yeoman, Sean, had his constant comment. And so tonight we were on a ginger peach kick. So it's very delicious. Oh, you can't have a will? That's terrible. Well, so that was something else I learned as we were growing up, right? When I went to work with my family member who was building things, there were all these government rules about building stuff, right? I had no idea because I'd never built anything before. But there were, you had to have an inspection. You built this, you had to have an inspection. And it wasn't just like when it was all done, they came and looked at it. It was like, no, we've prepared the ground to pour concrete. You have to have inspection. We poured the concrete. You have to have inspection. We put the framing up. You have to have inspection. We did, inspection. And like you couldn't do anything. And I don't really like being told what to do. I'm sure my mom would totally disagree that I was a very compliant child and did everything I was supposed to do. But I really don't like, no. So the ability to rise and fall on your own is kind of what this thing is. But yeah, if I had to go work in a hospital, I guess I could. But that's not, I just wouldn't like it. I'm not a big fan of paperwork. I like actual work. Paperwork is a necessary evil, and I don't care what you're doing, whether it's nursing or homesteading or whatever. There's always paperwork somewhere. That's true, Mom. I did. I just lied to my mom a lot growing up. When I was older, she'd ask me to do something like, sure, no problem. And then I'd say I was doing what I was supposed to do. So, yeah, I don't do that anymore. Totally well behaved now. Popping wheelies and tractors. So I want to put an artesian style well up front so that it's not as deep. It's easier to get the water out, those kind of things. I don't know if it'll work, but if not, I will put a deep well in and get a deep well hand pump, or I'd like to rig some kind of machine. Thanks, Mom. So I don't know if you guys have watched anything on the evil Amazon or not, but there's a Tudor farm show, which is really cool. They send these people and they try and live for like a year on the Tudor farm. And oh, shucks. Sandra, there's something broken in people like me. And I don't mean that in a self-depreciating manner. I mean, there's really something broken. Yeah, windmill, that'd be cool. The part of people that is normal and healthy that looks at something like a burning building or, a car crash on the interstate with cars whipping by at however many miles an hour and goes, hey, that's dangerous. Probably shouldn't get near that. Makes us go, yay! We get all excited about it because there's some switch inside of us that is flipped. It's busted. So I've had people say, it says, it's courageous and I couldn't go into a burning building and all that stuff. Like, to me, that's like Busch Gardens, right? It's fun. Like I love it. So it's just too much fun to pass up. So I get to do something at work every day that is super fun for me. And most of the guys I work with, all of us are pyromaniacs. And when you see something, terrible medical trauma, you're like, ooh, as opposed to, there's just something wrong with us. So, I hear you. So we're selling our beach. We call it the Beach Roadhouse. The in-town, one of the two in-town houses. For those of you that didn't watch my ridiculously long video about money streams and things like that, when we moved out of the leased property, when we moved up here, we bought a very old broken craftsman style house, and we fixed it while we lived in it. So for 5 years we fixed it and we lived with it, and then we saved up some money and we moved to a nicer part of the city next door, put a chunk of change down, and we started improving that house. So for the past 2 or so years, we've lived at what we call the Beach Roadhouse because that's the name of the road. And then we paid off the rental property. And then we moved out here, and we were going to put the Beach Roadhouse up for rent and then pay it off. But the market has gotten so crazy right now that it would take roughly 10 years worth of like paid for rent to make the amount of money that we could potentially make just by selling it. So, oh, that's a good call, Modern Yeoman. I haven't watched your video yet, but I saw the title. You'll forgive me, my internet out here is rubbish, and I only get like 100 gigs per month, and then it's gone. So I have to be very careful with what we watch. So when I go to work on Wednesday, I'll be watching your video. But you're right, things are disappearing. Actually, when you mentioned that, it was that, yeah, that's true, Sandra. We just have to, you have to let kids find their limits. Oh, you did get one? Oh, that's good. When COVID first hit and everything got super crazy, before we owned this place, a guy that I work with raises cattle. And I just like, oh, I'll just go buy a freezer, right? Same thing. And no freezers, nowhere. There weren't even like refrigerators. Like we thought, well, we'll just buy like a side-by-side and maybe we can take the middle out, because I've been told you can do that or poke some holes in it and it will be enough. It's not great, but it's enough. And there weren't even like fridges. There was nothing. And so when I called the guy with the cow, I was like, look, man, I want to buy the cow, part of the cow, we can buy the whole cow. But I have no way to store it. And he said, I have one like in a trailer I'm not using. So if you buy that, you can do whatever. And so it worked out. We ended up getting a chest freezer, or I'm sorry, a upright freezer. So we have a upright freezer. But Sarah, you are correct. Rentals are sketchy. But what I'll say about that is when we set up our next house, so the Beach Road house, and when we moved out of the one into the other one, I made sure, because I'd been house poor before in Georgia, and when the economy collapsed and everything else, I was house poor. Now I was house poor on a $72,000 mortgage. Okay, that was house poor for us 13, 14 years ago. Our mortgage rate was like 7%, and I think the PMI every month was like $100. And the way we found out that the economy had collapsed essentially is we were still doing okay-ish, like, but we thought things were going to go and like get better, and they weren't. But we thought, well, since things are getting harder, we're going to go ahead and have the house appraised, because it should be worth more now, so we can get that PMI off, save $100 a month. And when we had the house appraised, they told us it was worth 35. And we just couldn't afford to live there anymore. And so we went ahead when we moved here. And the reason that, not here, the farm, here, Virginia, that we bought this broken house was because I could more than afford it on my salary without anybody working, no overtime, no second career, no part-time job, nothing. And if I lost my job, that I could get a job at like Lowe's and still pay the mortgage. So that was like my baseline. So we lived there for 5 years, fixed it up. When we moved to Beach Road, we put a large chunk of money down on Beach Road. And with my salary at the fire department, now I'd been there for 5 years, so I was pretty well vested. I could pay both mortgages comfortably, all of our bills and everything else on just my salary. No overtime, no wife working, no part-time job, no nothing. And at the time, and still currently, my wife does work part-time, mostly out of the house. And I do work overtime, and we have the Flannel Guys stump grinding side business and things like that. So we didn't really run that risk. So if nobody paid any mortgage ever on the rental property, we could pay for it. It wouldn't be comfortable, but we could pay for it. And we could sell it because it was broken when we bought it. We did a bunch of work to it. When I say broken, like, the front door was hanging off. There was no water. There was no heating and cooling. Part of the ceiling had collapsed. It was leaking. Like the floors were wood, but they were so hadn't been refinished in so long you got splinters. So I fixed all of that over 5 years as we had money. So we didn't borrow any money. We didn't do the home equity line of credit. I just fixed it as we went. And so rentals are risky. There's no doubt about it. And it would have been not fun to pay both mortgages on my salary, but we could have. So since it's paid for, if nobody rents it, it's not really a problem. And what's happened right now is, because so many people have had that trouble with renters, they've sold. in Virginia, 30% of single resident homes 2 years ago were rentals. That's down to 13% now. So there are all kinds of people. Hey, good for you, Rip. I'll tell you in a minute. There are all kinds of people now who don't want to buy a house, who need to rent, and there's nothing to rent. And so we rented out our rental property for a ridiculous amount monthly that I can't believe somebody's paying, but it's supply and demand. And I do have a property manager, which I didn't have before. If you've seen that video, my property manager, he's really great. He's probably not watching still. He'll still do work for me. He's a great guy. Him and his wife, they're balls of fire. I love it. And they've got it rented for me, and they have all the lawyers and everything else, and there's nothing to foreclose. So it would just be a bummer. Rip, it's slow, to be honest. We're averaging something like 5 or 6 decent jobs a month. But they pay good, the jobs that we do. And the reason I think it's slow, in part, is because we started the business in May. I think the equipment came at the end of April. So we just started in May, and like actually trying to find jobs. And I work in the fire department, so I told everybody in the fire department, ended up getting 5 or 6 jobs from there. We got the shirts and the business cards going, some window stickers, but I haven't actually called tree companies. And that's the kicker, is you call tree companies, because a lot of tree companies don't do stump grinding, or the smaller tree companies will do a whole bunch of trees, and then they'll go rent a very big stump grinder and go do those, for one day they'll go grind stumps. So what you do, which I haven't done yet, because we've been, so our tenants moved out of the rental property in July, so we had to get that ready. And then we closed on this place at the end of August, and then we listed our other house up for sale at the just halfway through this month. So I just haven't had time to get onto the. I didn't want to call a tree company and say, "Hey, I'll come grind your stumps," and they say, "Great, come grind them tomorrow." I was, "Oh, well, I can't." "Well, when can you?" "Well, in like 3.5 weeks, I'll be available. So just call me then." But if you call the tree companies and you offer them a percentage of the job, right? So we charge $5 an inch across the stump. So you just measure the inches, $5, easy math. If you tell a tree company you'll do it for them for like $3.50 or $3.75, and then they can sell it to the customer for $5, they keep $1 or $1.25 for themselves for doing nothing. They just offer, they set it up basically. You'll get a lot more work that way. So I haven't done that yet, but yes, I'm playing with Lucy and the chickens. That's 100% true. But our machine was about 9,000, 8,500 something. I don't remember what taxes and delivery. I think it listed for 79,999 or something, about $8,000. And we bought a Stihl 462 with a 32-inch bar, and I thought that was ridiculous. But my business partner Clint was pretty insistent that we needed it, and I didn't think we needed it. I have a Stihl with a 20-inch bar. I thought we'd be fine. What didn't occur to me, which is great, is that trees, the trunk is like this, but then when they get down to the root, it gets like that. So the roots kick way out, and a chainsaw goes through a stump a whole lot faster than a stump grinder. So when you get down to like cutting it flush with the ground, a stump can get real wide real quick. So that 462 has been invaluable. But we're, including taking money for ourselves, we're about halfway through paying back all the equipment to ourselves. So it's going well. I think it's going to continue to build. The jobs seem to be picking up speed, and they're getting to be bigger jobs. Tomorrow I'm grinding, I think it's 7 stumps at one guy's house, and he knows 2 other people that need stump grinding done. So it's working its way through. But that's how we kind of ended up here where we are doing what we're doing. Besides stump grinding too. Did anybody have any questions for me about, somebody asked, I think, how many kids, and we have 3 kids. We have a girl, boy, and oh my goodness, so many things. Slow down. yeah, hard pregnancies, and I'll just leave it at that. So we were blessed that all three of them came out fine, and that my wife is okay, and that's where we're at. So they're one's almost a teenager, and the youngest one is 9. So it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. The barn clearing actually is going very well today. Well, I went to order a dumpster because I was just like, there's tires and mail and there's all kinds of stuff. And I thought I'll just get a dumpster and we'll throw the hydraulic fluid and the paint and everything else in there. And it is the dumpster company said, yeah, no problem. It's $600 because that was the last company that had one. It's $600 for a 20-yard dumpster. And oh, by the way, you can't throw appliances, and you can't throw away oil, you can't throw away paint, you can't throw away liquids, and you can't throw away tires, and you can't throw away all the stuff I need to throw away. I can't throw away. So yeah, well, I mean, Sandra, what is hazardous? What is hazardous? It burns. It doesn't burn. Hey. So I just said, forget it. I'm not spending $600 for a dumpster. And so I started burning a lot today. And actually, the one post I did earlier about the dumpster fire was it on fire this morning. We burned a lot. Yeah, let's go, Brandon. But yes, rules are rules. So what we're doing is burning everything that we can burn. And then what I'm going to do is just take my trailer and load up like all of the hazard-ish waste. So the hydraulic fluid and the paint and all those kind of things. I'm pretty sure there's a place that here locally that you can dispose of it. You just have to, go, and I don't know if you have to pay extra or what, but and then I'm going to collect all the metal once everything's burnt and take that to the dump. I can do that. I have my little 5x8 landscape trailer, but I had thought I could just dump a dumpster and just fill it, and I can't. And if I have to sort everything anyways, there's no real point in the dumpster, and I can just save $600. So that's what we're going to do. Burn what we can burn, haul what we have to haul, and then do that. So yeah, exactly. I'm sure there's a place for it. I just have to find it, which is less convenient than somebody dropping a dumpster, but I'll definitely find it for $600. Holy cow. So we'll just get rid of it that way. But the burning's been a lot of fun. I love burning. So, but what else? Anybody else have any other questions before we call it an evening and we go cheer for Brandon? Hey, it's my buddy. Trey, don't be contrarian. Hazardous waste day. That's cool. Yeah, you can just take a little trash with you to the dumpster at your local gas station. So I hope not. I hope to get a video out tomorrow about lighter wood. I did a video on it before about what it was and kind of how to find it, but I actually have property now, and a friend of mine wanted to know, like, if he was walking through the woods, how do you discover lighter wood? So I hope to get that edited and up tomorrow. Fat wood, lighter wood, whatever you want to call it. It's a great fire starter. You can chop it up real easy with an axe, and you can burn like crazy with it. You can start your little log fire with, one match kind of deal. So it's great. Are you talking to me or my brother about when the next live stream is? Because I want to watch his. I'm hoping to start doing these once a week. This was kind of a new venture for me. I don't mind talking, but I want to make sure I had something to say too. So I'm not making the biochar yet. It's something I want to dabble in, but I hate to say I don't have time. But we have, okay, so the 30th of this month, is widely celebrated by people. Actually, I think it's technically the 31st. I'm not really sure. But we are doing a Reformation Day because October 31st was the day that Martin Luther nailed the thesis to the door. A lot of other people do some other thing with costumes. I'm not really sure what that's all about. But we're doing a Reformation Day celebration here at the farm, and our church is coming, and several people from a couple other churches are coming. And so we're going to have this big shindig here. I think we're expecting somewhere around 40 to 60 people. So exactly, Sandra, to be perfectly honest, right now I'm trying to clean out the trash that's in the barns and the outbuildings so that I can move the things that I actually want to store from like the outside and paths where I have just dumped things. And let me do this. I'm gonna put my oh, that reminds me, is Nancy here? That's our P.O. box. Nancy, bless her heart. And I don't mean that in the Southern way. I really mean it. She sent some seeds, and it's like she asked if I want some seeds. I said sure. We actually opened a P.O. box kind of specifically for the YouTube channel, so we had somewhere for stuff to go. And she sent like this amazing box of stuff. And not only did it have like your regular, like thyme seeds and some chives, and she sent like an entire herb garden. And then she sent different ones, soap nuts, and then she made all these notes on how to grow them. And it was there's a flour mix, like just super thoughtful. Some sweet potatoes that she said to try, and if we liked it, to go ahead and grow it. It was unbelievably thoughtful. And I'm like a lot of seeds, guys, lots of seeds. So it was very sweet. I forgot that box was sitting here, and I meant to say something. So thank you for that. There is a thank you in the video coming up. She watches the regular video, so if she's not here, that's fine. She'll get her thank you properly in the next upcoming video. But we are collecting seeds. What we thought we might do, I don't know if I can actually make it happen. But we would like to try and like do a little section of our garden and name it after her because she sent the seeds. So if you send us some seeds with your name on it, if I can't, I'm going to try. I always fall apart at follow through, but my wife is really good at this. So if I put her on the hook for it, it will totally happen. But we might do sections of the garden for people that sent us the seeds. So when we do the updates and stuff, you'll see your name on the garden. I don't know. I thought it'd be kind of cool. It might be kind of stupid, but I'm going to give it a shot. It's kind of a way to say thank you to people that send us stuff. Anyways, I think that's about it. Unless there's any other questions that you guys might have for me before we call it. Oh, he asked when the next live stream is. Let's aim for next Monday. Does that work for you guys? Monday or Tuesday? I'll put up a post. I'll try and have it figured out to where, like, if I post a thing that it's going to start at a certain time, it actually starts, as opposed to me having to like back up and do another one. Liberty Garden anyway. That's right. That's what I'm talking about. I think it would be cool. You need 20 acres though. Well, not everything everybody sends me is going to get planted. I might just like do just a name on a row of one of the things somebody sent, kind of thing. Monday Night Flannel. Sounds good. Joe, were you asking me, or? That's right, Donna. That's kind of the point. I mean, I know it's kind of goofy to say, but we're all in this together. Like, this is I consider it a community. I don't like, it's not like viewers and things. It's you guys together, and your input and your knowledge is getting poured into me, and I'm showing you like what we're doing with some of the stuff you're giving us, with your knowledge and experience, and you guys have answered questions for me. It's been amazing. So, oh, that'd be perfect, Karen. Joe, my chickens have been a pain in the butt in eating my eggs. Actually, if you back up, I don't want to repeat everything and watch the beginning part. I kind of explained what happened, but we ended up getting 15 more chickens that are hen age and they're already laying. And the other girls got regulated to the woods because they're jerks. But yes, enjoy. My brother was trying to help me with the OBS and get it all set up for me, and I just started too late. Really, I should have called him like yesterday and said, hey, I want to do a live stream tomorrow. And instead, which is my nature, I went, I do live stream now. Boop, boop, boop. And that's what happened. So planning is not my best thing, which is why I'm in the job I'm in, because you can't really plan for emergencies. So when somebody calls and says, hey, my house is on fire, and you show up and it is on fire, then you put the fire out. Like you just do it. So that's part of the fun. So anyhow, does anybody have anything else? Otherwise, I'm going to pour myself another cup of tea and sign off. I appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for putting up with my first stream and the technical difficulties and hanging out with me and asking questions. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one, like actually having the interactive chat with you. I really like this part of it. So otherwise, I hope the video gets out, and I look forward to hearing your comments about it tomorrow. So I will enjoy another ginger peach tamarack. You guys have a good night. Bye.